issues and cases of delayed corruption cases in our country, and what really are the reasons, and what will this lead to, and how can this be handled? Well, a very clear case at hand now is the issue of Olise Metu, the former publicity secretary of the PDP, that is facing corruption allegation, case with the EFCC to the tune of 400 million naira. On Monday, he was in court, only for us to find out that he fell down and he collapsed. And of course, that is not going down well with some analysts. Well, to look at all this today on the program this morning on ITV, we're so privileged to have Barrister Dele Igbinedion. So you're welcome to this program this morning on ITV.
Thank you, Evans, for having me. Hello, viewers, good to be here again.
And also Barrister Dan Ogbege is also joining us. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Evans. Good to be here.
Okay. Yes. All right, gentlemen, as we set the foundation for this discussion this morning, very recently, there was a publication that in 10 years that only 10 cases out of 177 grand corruption cases led to convictions. That is 10 out of 177 was really concluded. So that underscores again that in Nigeria there seems to be this tendency for cases of corruption to be delayed. Gentlemen, I really don't understand why we're having this kind of scenario in Nigeria. Let me start from Barrister Dele Igbinedion.
Well, thank you very much. I will speak from the point of view of a lawyer who practices law every day, because I'm in courts every day. When we talk about delay of trials, I don't think that it is restricted to corruption cases. I know that there is great public interest in corruption matters because of the high-profile nature of the defendants, former governors, former ministers, former party, big party, big wigs, as we can say. So there is that intense publicity around it, and that is used now to benchmark. Whatever happens is to benchmark the entirety of the thing. But it's not an easy sort of situation. It's not something that any judge can control and enforce and compel. We have laws that guarantee fair hearing to people within a reasonable time, giving them adequate facilities to prepare their defense, and it's a function of our laws and a function of the implementation of the laws by security agents that actually cause these delays. And I can just briefly say one or two things about that. First, in Nigeria, you have a lopsided judicial criminal justice system. Police arrest you, they are doing their investigations, they keep everything to themselves. They don't release the information to you, for your lawyer to also be able to do anything until they feel they have built a case. Then they charge you to court. And then when they charge you to court, they now tell you, you know what, trial is tomorrow or trial is next week. So your lawyer has 1 week, 1 month, if he gets that 1 month adjournment, to prepare to defend something that has taken the police and maybe EFCC, maybe 1 year or 2 years to prepare. So you have EFCC with 2 years preparation, and you have you, the lawyer, with 1 week or 1 month to prepare to defend that. So inevitably, you must ask for time. Inevitably, you must ask for time. You want to check out witnesses. You want to check out medical reports. You want to check out forensic reports. You want to check out evidence that they have marshaled against your client. So inevitably there will be delay. Now, unlike abroad, where in England, for example, if a suspect is arrested, police is interviewing the suspect, they must ensure the lawyer to the suspect is present. As they are interviewing the suspect, they are recording it, the interview. The moment they finish, they tell you wait for 5 minutes, they go, they duplicate it.
And transcribe.
Not duplicate, because in English, they give you the lawyer one, they keep one, they send one to the Ministry of Justice immediately. So as you are leaving, you have the tape of the interview of your client. You don't need to ask for it again. So that is the problem that we have here. And when you try to reach out to the security agents, you say, look, cooperate with us. We who are the defense lawyers are your partners in this thing. You must, when you are gathering evidence, carry us along. They refuse. They refuse.
Okay. Now, Barrister Dan Ogbege, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just going to, look at some of these issues in my own way, and perhaps you put us right here. Now, just like what Barrister Igbenedion said, that most times the defense counsel is not carried along by the security agents or agencies that are part of the cases, or the case as the case may be. Now, why is this? Is it predetermined, or is something fishing somewhere?
Well, it is because most often than not, they do not understand the purpose of criminal trial or of criminal prosecution. For them, it is vindictiveness. And it is because, either for the police, it is because this person did not pay us any money for bail. So we will show him, we will send him to jail. For the EFCC, most of the time, it is because the people involved are political exposed persons, and maybe the government is interested in their prosecution and probably conviction. So they go out of their way to do everything possible to secure conviction. But they do not understand that the law or the court would rather send 1,000 criminals free than to send one innocent person to prison. So there is...
Are you saying that even when there are remarkable evidence?
No, that's what we are saying. So that is the reason why in criminal trial, the court is very careful, so as an innocent person will not be unjustly sent to prison. That is the reason why our Constitution gives a fundamental provision on that chapter 4 that there is presumption of innocence on any person that is accused of a criminal offense until the contrary is proved in a competent court of law. And it is proved beyond reasonable doubt that you will see that, from every evidence available, this person actually committed this crime. But the Constitution provides that the defense must be given adequate time and resources to provide to enter his defense.
So
that is what Malene Senior said just now, that the police or the EFCC, they do not carry the defense attorneys along. They ought to be able to give you proof of evidence. To get proof of evidence becomes a problem. You go to the Ministry of Justice, you go to the police, you will go here. I mean, it is always hectic. But once they understand that there's presumption of innocence on an accused person, once they understand that the purpose of criminal trial or criminal prosecution is not just to punish the accused person, then they would know that, okay, the accused person has rights, and these rights are protected by the Constitution. And these are some of the things that the Administration of Criminal Justice Act sought to cure.
Yes.
But though it has not really been able to take care of many of these things, for instance, the issue of recording, the witness statement on oath, both video recording, audio recording, and even transcription with a, what do you call it, is it teleprompter or something? I mean, the type. Like that is what is done in the developed world. Because as much as possible, the law is interested in preventing an innocent person from being punished. Okay. So I believe if we do all of that, if our various security agencies and the prosecution, they have a reorientation. If the government sees that the society is much more important than re-election, and that they don't have to try everything possible to muzzle opposition elements or to cast aspersions on opposition elements. You know, for instance, what the FCC does is to just point a finger. This person, we are taking this person to court. And everybody starts thinking, oh, that person must be a thief. They don't even bother to find out what are you taking him to court for. Okay. Does the charge had any merit whatsoever.
Barrister Dan, let's, because we're going to have time, plenty of time to really look at the case at hand, Olise Metu,
Yes.
you know, so that we can relate it to what we're saying. Now, I was going through a publication, and the CJN panel submits reports, and it has identified about total number of 10 reasons why we have issue of delay corruption cases in Nigeria. It talks about poor prosecution, and also we'll also have some other items like duplication of charges, just like what we said ago, multiplicity of cases, and also we'll also have absence of parties in court, and extrajudicial statements, and also documentary evidence, and court itself, and also prison itself, and documentations, recommendations rather, and some other items that borders on some other things too. Now, gentlemen, is this not peculiar to Nigeria?
Well, if I may just take that. These things you have identified, these things they have identified, I believe they have identified them from the point of view of the judges.
Okay.
Because the CJN sets up a panel, his lordship will, of course, want to put judges. But from the point of view, and when you become a judge, you know, the longer you are a judge, the more you are removed from the daily sort of experience of the practicing lawyer. Because your own is to decide cases. So you come every day, you know, their lordships will listen to lawyers and take decisions.
Well, one would have expected that as a judge that was once a lawyer.
Well, there's something called, you know, insulation. You know, the less you are interacting with something, a situation, the less the more you are removed from it. I just like in politics, we say that election is won before the day of election. Yes. In other words, it's the preparation you have put together that determines whether you win or lose on that day. Just like a student, it's not the day of exam that you fail. You fail when you didn't attend lecture, when you didn't read for it. In the same way, for cases in court, cases are won or lost first and foremost in the chambers. You know, and I say that to say this: if you can't blame EFCC if he brings 10 duplicates charges, he's still going to use the same witnesses to prove the charges. But don't forget that on the defense side, the defense also has to be carried along. Otherwise, you cannot move. Like the Olise Metu case we, you know, in focus. How are you going to move if the man is, you know, falls down on the floor? I mean, it's a difficult scenario, isn't it? Rightly or wrongly. Rightly or wrongly. But we need to you know, appreciate that we have the administration of criminal justice law, because most people haven't come to that understanding. Most investigators, I still say that the success or failure of every criminal trial, whether corruption, and more importantly, mostly corruption, starts and fails at the level of investigation. When you go to the police station or the EFCC to see your client, they tell you to wait. Oh, he has not made statement. You tell them, look, under the new law, he cannot make statement without my presence. Exactly. They tell you, well, that is your, when you get to court, you say that. And when you get to court and you are saying it, the judge doesn't listen to you. Say, okay, well, all right, let's see what goes. So all these are factors. It's not just a matter of absence of the defendant in court. Absence of the defendant can never stop proceedings. Under the administration of criminal justice law, like in Edo State, the one we have, if a defendant is accused, he doesn't come to court, you cannot find him. You serve him by substituted means. Go and paste it in his house. Continue the trial. You give him 2 adjournments, the court says, the law says. First adjournment is not there. Second adjournment is not there. You pass hearing notice. You pass hearing notice 2 times, it doesn't come. Avant, move on.
Okay. Now, Barrister Dan Ugbege, let's look at the case in hand, the Olise Metu's case. We saw how Olise Metu was, you know, brought in the court in a stretcher. And of course, we also saw how he came in yesterday on Monday in the same court premises. And even it was said that he was asked not to stand up. And of course, he stood and he fell. Now, who do you think is delaying this case, delaying the judgment in this case?
Yes, well, maybe you look at it holistically. The EFCC several times opposed Olisamatu's bail application. It took some time before he was granted bail. He spent, well, maybe up to a year or even more in detention before he was finally granted bail. And now the man says he's sick. And the judge has insisted that, okay, the man says he's sick and he has applied to seek medical help abroad. And the judge has consistently refused. Yes. And the judge, yeah, because the president seeks medical help abroad. So he's our leader. We all are following his footpath. So, you know.
It's okay, it's all right.
Now, to seek medical help abroad. And the judge consistently refused to grant him that leave. This man is still innocent. This man is still on bail. So why has this judge refused to grant him leave to seek medical help abroad? We are talking about life now. This is a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has not been convicted by any court of law. And he himself is a senior lawyer. The judge in the case of Iyanko, that is also going on in the same court, has granted Iyanko several times leave to seek medical help abroad. And Iyanko, former governor of Adamawa State, who is accused of embezzling about 27 billion
still the same corruption
naira, 27 billion naira, had been granted leave to seek medical help abroad. Is it because his wife is a judge of the Federal High Court or what? I do not understand, because I am not trying to cast aspersion on the judge, because of course I cannot do that. But I'm saying that the judge ought to, you know, be minded on the health condition of the accused person, in this case, Olisamatu. Why have you not given him leave to seek medical attention in any hospital of his choice? Nigeria has embassies or high commission in many countries of the world, including the countries that the man has said he will go to seek medical help. If you think that he will run and not return, Nigeria has bilateral agreements with many of these countries to repatriate citizens, especially those who are involved in a criminal trial. So why can't we, you know, make use of that facility and allow the man? Okay, is it when he dies? Because his persecution is not to ensure his death. It's to ensure that he faces justice to the allegations against him. So why not grant him leave to seek medical help, especially when you have done the same thing for another accused person that's in the same court as you? So it will raise the question of bias. It will raise the question of premeditated persecution on the part of the federal government, the EFCC, and that they are probably using the judge, because that same judge, Justice Abang, the EFCC, the DSS, and other agencies of the federal government has used his court to form shop. And many times they have any matter against the opposition, the PDP, they will take the matter to his court.
But is the chief judge of the Federal High Court?
No, he's just a judge of the Federal High Court. And the man has insisted, even when Olisamatu said, you will be biased, because the man and Olisamatu, they were classmates at the law school. Okay. And Olisamatu raised a fundamental issue that this man, both of us fought over girlfriend issue when we were at the law school. So you cannot be biased in my case. You cannot handle my case. So you declare, recuse yourself so that the case will be transferred to another court. The man refused. He said no, then we continue with the case. Okay. Ordinarily, morally, what the judge ought to do if an accused person raises such allegation of bias, especially when it has foundation, the judge ought to recuse himself.
Does he have the constitutional right to do that?
No, I said morally. Okay. The judge ought to recuse himself and say, okay, since you have said this, I will transfer the matter to the Chief Justice of the Federal High Court so that he can reassign. Okay.
Now, Barrister Delik Binidio, I know you want to say something, but let us quickly look at what really played out, on Monday. If only the PD would just let us see that clips so that to further demonstrate what we're talking about here. Now, Olisamatu was not supposed to stand up As a matter of fact, somebody that was wheeled into the court premises, and he stood up. Now, what do you think the gentleman was trying to do? Was he trying to further draw the attention of people to his case, or he was only trying to be a party to really delay the case further?
Well, I just want to clear a few things. First of all, I've appeared before Justice Abang several times. Both himself, Olisa Metu, myself, Ayim Pius Ayim, we're all classmates. All of us were classmates. Justice Abang is someone who doesn't give a hoot about politics. The man doesn't care about politics. He's not in any political party. He doesn't care. If you have appeared before him, he decides cases rightly or wrongly as he's presented and as you argue your case. That's all. That's number one.
Rightly or wrongly.
Rightly or wrongly. That's his choice, you know. I mean, you and I here, we made a decision to come here. Maybe it's a right decision, maybe it's a wrong decision, but a decision to come to the studio today is a decision. As a judge, this one has argued, this one has argued. You make up your mind based on what is presented before you. Look at the case of this man now. Talking of Murtala Nyako. What are the facts of Murtala Nyako's case? What's the nature of his illness compared to this man? At the beginning, he was reluctant to grant him bail because, you know, he looked at all the facts and all the circumstances. It's his decision. Eventually, he granted the man bail. Only for the man to come and say, oh, during a PDP meeting, I was sitting on a chair. I fell down from the chair, and it affected my spinal cord. From a chair, not from a ladder, not from a story building. He was sitting down in a PDP meeting, and he fell down. And it affected not his leg, not his hand.
No, was it because it was in the PDP meeting?
Hold on. That is the fact.
Wait, I mean, there are just
sorry, sir.
That was
sorry. When you were speaking, I didn't say a word.
Okay.
These are the facts that he presented to the court. And a judge, as a reasonable person, has to imagine, as I'm sitting on the chair now in a meeting, I just fall down, and it just affected my spinal cord. Then he presented medical evidence. The medical evidence was opposed. The judge looked at it. He looked at the argument on both sides and said, this medical evidence is very suspicious. Medical evidence is suspicious. A judge is not bound to accept it. It's not a dunce. They now went abroad and brought another medical evidence from a doctor who lives in London, who has not examined Olisa Metu. He wrote and said, oh, grant him to come to London. And the judge said, look, I have decided this matter once. If you are not satisfied, go on appeal. Don't keep bringing it before me, because once a court has decided the matter, the law will say that court is functus officio. You can't appeal your decision, review it, go back and forth. You have decided it. I have said, based on the evidence you presented, I will not grant you permission to travel abroad. If you are not satisfied, go on appeal. They have actually filed appeal. Pursue your appeal on that point. But in the interim, let the trial continue. Yeah. So then they start bringing him on stretcher. Is it not this man that was walking yesterday when he was applying for bail? Suddenly he's now on stretcher. Okay, it's all right. He fell down from a chair and it affected his spinal cord.
Yes.
Just from a chair. If I fall now, I don't know, but that's all right. Okay, fine. Mr. Man, you are on your stretcher. That's all right. You can follow proceedings. The law does not say you should sit down or stand up during trial. As long as you are present in court. Now you are present. Then one day his lawyer got up and said, well, even though he's present, he cannot mentally follow what is happening because
the guy is
of his spinal spinal injury. Spinal injury has now affected your brain. Okay, the judge said, look, all this, Mr. Man, you are a lawyer now. You are not a doctor to be able to say that. So I will take what you are saying with a pinch of salt. Besides, you are bringing witnesses. The man is not testifying. Go ahead with your witnesses. They have called 11 witnesses. Go ahead. At the time, he said he want to bring President Jonathan. You remember? Mm-hmm. They want to force President Jonathan to come and testify on his behalf. Anyone doesn't want to come and testify on your behalf. Okay, eventually now, on that day, the last scenario was, which is the what do you call it, the apogee of it all. He came to court, they brought him in a wheelchair, not in a stretcher, thanks be to God, getting better. As he's sitting down, they called the case. When they were calling other cases, he was sitting there also, or the case was called first. The judge entered, they called the case. As he called the case, the judge noticed that he was trying to get up. The judge said, no. Please, Mr. Metu, you sit there. He disobeyed the judge, got up, and fell down. and lay down there.
Was that on purpose?
Yes, of course.
But you cannot say that for certain.
No, excuse
you cannot.
me.
You are not a medical doctor.
Excuse me.
You don't understand the medical situation.
Excuse me, sir.
Let me ask you.
Let me tell you why I believe it's on purpose. When you come to court, you are called. You have said you cannot walk. You did not walk into the court. You were aided to get to the court. Expectedly, if you are called, you would also wait to be aided into the, isn't it, to the witness, to the dock. But instead of waiting for him to be, he was aided from the vehicle into the wheelchair and carried up to the court. Now that they call the case, instead of waiting for the people who aided him to also come and aid him, he decided to go by his own strength. And then there's a way a man who is sick falls, and there's a way a man who wants to fall.
Okay. Let me pause you so that I'll come to Barrister Dan Ogbege. I just hope that the PD can let us see, some of the clips that we're talking about to further illustrate. I think we had that on Monday in our 7:30 news, talking about Olise Metu, how he fell in court, and of course how he was being attended to. If the PD can find that, we can just use that to further buttress what we're talking about this morning. Now, Barrister Dan Ogbege, Barrister Igbinedion talked about the first time that Olise Metu reported that he fell from a chair while in a PDP meeting, and that was why he had the spinal cord injury. Now, I remember that time. That was the same time that it was said that this same Olise Metu was cited at the PDP convention.
He was not in the PDP convention.
But somebody said so.
Propaganda.
Okay, that he was
propaganda everywhere. Of course, that is what this government has brought. In APC, they brought propaganda. But haven't even said that. What is the judge supposed to do? The judge is not a medical doctor. There's a medical report.
Which he has refused.
There's a medical report from a qualified medical practitioner in Nigeria.
Well, that is not even
his question.
Why do you think Olise Metu actually stood up on Monday, even when he was not asked to do so?
But first of all, let me clear this, the issue of his medical situation. Now, there's a medical report from a qualified medical practitioner in Nigeria whose integrity was at stake. It was presented in court to say, I need to travel to be able to take care of my health. This was what happened to me, and it affected my spinal cord. His evidence was backed up by a medical report from a medical doctor in Nigeria. Then the judge refused, and there was another letter to the judge from a medical doctor in the UK, assuming the medical doctor in Nigeria, compromised. But will the medical doctor in the UK also compromise? I mean, the UK has one of the finest standards you could think about.
Yeah, but he just said that the doctor in the UK did not actually examine Olise.
No, it was based on the medical report of the doctor in Nigeria. So that I want to attend to this person. This person is my patient, and he needs to travel to the UK.
Is there a place in law? Is there a place in law that you can ascertain medical disposition by proxy?
By proxy, how?
Just like
there was no medical disposition by proxy.
No, what I'm saying,
it was a medical report from a Nigerian doctor.
That's the UK.
No, the medical report from a Nigerian doctor. Yeah, the UK was not a medical report. It was a letter to that court
based on the medical report.
Based on the medical report of the Nigerian doctor. So the medical report from the Nigerian doctor was sufficient for the judge to grant him leave to seek medical help. But if it was not vindictiveness, the judge ought to respect the medical report from the doctor in Nigeria. Or if he did not, the judge ought to compare the president of the Nigerian Medical Association to constitute a panel to look at the veracity of that medical report. If you have any doubt, but he did not go, sir. But he did not do that. So that means there is vindictiveness and there is persecution going on to demonize and to incriminate those who worked with Goodluck Jonathan in the last election, those who were at the forefront. And if you look at it, many of them There will be trouble charges against them here and there.
Is this
and
really
they are carrying on.
Is this really against the government of Goodluck Jonathan or against corruption?
No, it is not against corruption. It is so clear that it is so clear. It is so clear, sir, that what is happening is vindictiveness, is recrimination, and it is persecution. The law, the constitution frowns against persecution. Okay. What the constitution prescribes is prosecution, and prosecution is different from persecution. So in this case, what this government is doing in the case of Olisamatu, it is clear to the average Nigerian that it is first to humiliate him and to destroy him, to break him. Look at, for instance, now, it took over a year for the EFCC and the federal government led by Muhammadu Buhari to obey the order of court granting bail to Olisamatu. And despite several orders of court granting bail, for instance, to Dasuki Sambo is still incarcerated by the same government. So when you look at it, what is that the difference between this government and the government of Abacha? Of course, Buhari is either the protege or the mentor of Sani Abacha. And we know what went on at that time. The same thing is happening. Of course, when something, you know, in Benin, I'm a Benin man, they say, okay, so when something look at each other, you use it to compare. Yeah, hey, this one has happened before. There's a sense of deja vu going on right now. There's a clampdown on opposition elements right now in almost every state of the federation. Okay, let me. But when you, for instance, if you look at them, for instance, those that were, you know, some people decamp. Wait, sir, let me know this point, sir. Let me know this point. Some people in Edo State, some politicians in Edo State were members of the PDP. They were facing EFCC investigation and possible prosecution. But in January, they declared to be ruling APC, and that case has been dropped. They become saints. They be baptized into sainthood.
Which people are that? Can you mention one or two persons? You can mention one.
Where you don't mention? Okay, I can mention Felix Akabo from Esan West. Yes, I can mention it for instance. Well, he's not in the APC, because some of these the law, of course, the baptized into sainthood. So once you are there, what is said,
it's not just for us to
look at the former governor of Abia State, for instance, Ojuiz Okalu, who was facing multiple prosecutions. But is the EFCC even serious anymore? They just come to court and they will say that they don't see that they don't find their parents.
Let me pause you so that we can also bring.
We are running away.
Yes, I know you really want to say something, but I'm going to ask you the same question again. Because if you look at what happened in court, we just saw the clips there.
Yes.
Because some people are before that Monday, some persons, you know, probably thought that if the EFCC and the federal government probably, you know, have been trying to delay this case. But with the outcome of Monday, it now looks as if Olisamatu himself is, you know, trying to delay the case.
That's a leading question.
The reality has become very obvious. The man did not faint.
You cannot know.
Please. We saw him on the clip.
You cannot know.
Raising his hand, touching his head. Please, let us be.
The law was that he collapsed.
He collapsed. He didn't faint. Please.
So what is the difference between when you
collapse? To collapse means to fall.
Okay.
To faint means to lose consciousness.
Yes. So which doctor told you that he did not faint? Which doctor examined him?
He faints. Is immobile. It's not self-mobile. You can see him raising his hand, bringing it down, touching his head. But I'm not, please, I'm not for EFCC, I'm not for Olisamatu. I'm for justice. There is no place, this is our law. Administration of Criminal Justice Law, Federal, Administration of Criminal Justice Law, Edo State. There is no place in either of this law or any law that guarantees you right to go abroad for treatment. Otherwise, any person who is hearing me today, whether you are poor, whether you are rich, and you are facing criminal trial, if they give Olisamatu power to go abroad, you want to apply that you want to go for visa to go abroad to treat yourself before you come and attend to your case of stealing chicken. Abi, because what is good for the goose is good for. Please, excuse me. But the Constitution does not guarantee right to travel abroad for.
If you don't say travel abroad, say the accused person. the accused person will be given adequate time and resources. And this man has said that because of the state of his health, he couldn't go and take his case. So he wants to seek help abroad. That his doctor is abroad. Because the same court, he had the floor. The same permission. Let him. The former governor of Adamawa State. Is it because he's there in APC? Okay, that's why they gave him that permission to go and seek help abroad.
Just let him be through.
Each case is decided on its own merit. The way I present my case as a lawyer, I may present it, persuade it, and persuade the judge. You come up with a wrong attitude. You rub the judge off wrongly, and you think he's going to listen to you just because say you granted the other man, you granted the other man. Is that the reason why I should grant your own? Where are your facts?
But the facts are please even happen in court.
The man, the foundation of this was brought out by my learned friend. The fact that you bring somebody on a stretcher is not conclusive. Anybody can lie down on a stretcher.
On the face value, please. And there was a
let's look at Dino Melaye. Let's look at Dino Melaye. A few weeks ago, he was lying. We were seeing him being stretchered in and out of court. Not so. Recently, now the chief judge of Kogi State granted him bail, and 2 days later, he was tweeting. That's taken from tweeting. No, look. Even in court, he was motionless. But the moment he has been granted bail, I say, I have bounced back. That's it. All right, gentlemen.
Let's look at the recent of now. The recent of Mentu's case. It was in news this morning that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has urged the Federal High Court in Abuja to invoke its power under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and try the embattled former National Public Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Police Mentu, in absentia. So the implication of that is that does that now imply that Police Mentu can now go abroad for treatment while the case go on?
No, the passport of Police Mentu is with the court, unless he wants to go through the back door. His international passport.
But they ought to remove his passport.
Please, Mr. Ogbegi. Yes, sometimes with all due respect.
Now, does Police Mentu, if Police Mentu is granted bail?
No, he's been granted bail.
All right, but
not to travel abroad. That's a condition. Don't travel without the permission of the court, so that you don't do like Fred Ajudua, who was granted permission to go to India, and he never came back for more than a decade. Until all the witnesses, all the judges that are in the matter are either dead or retired or transferred. Please, excuse me. Now, this, you see, whether we like it or not, the foundation of our democracy is the respect for rule of law. A judge has decided that he will not allow you. Go on appeal on that. Meanwhile, your case must go on. Now, it is part of the law which you have read that yesterday he was not in court. The law says you give an accused person, a defendant, we don't call it accused anymore, 2 adjournments. If he's not present, you continue the case in trial. I can read it out to you. I can read it out to the whole world. I've got the 2 books. You are allowed to appear to defend yourself. But if you, for any reason, stay away, the court can adjourn once, give you another opportunity. Second time, give you another opportunity. If you are not present without reasonable cause, the cause will continue. Now, don't forget, sir, Olisa Mentu has called 11 witnesses. How many remaining for him to close his case? That is why he does not want the case to go on, because having called 11 witnesses, it's for him now to testify or call one more and testify. And he's scared of the last day.
Okay. Now,
this is a man who collected 400 million naira from our national security advisor.
That's an allegation.
Yeah, but that is the point. That's the thing. You defend it. What did you use 400 million naira for?
How about you can't say that now, because it's still an allegation.
That is why they are asking. It's all the 400 million. That's why they are defend it.
But now the lawyer, I must ask you a question. The lawyer in the person of, let's see now, Emeka Etieba.
Yes.
That's the lawyer. SAN. Now, immediately Olisa Mentu fell down and all that. We're told that he left the court.
He said he wants to withdraw.
Only for him to resurface yesterday. You know, I mean, what does that amount to?
Can I just address that?
I wasn't there.
No, you weren't there. But you see, no, that would have been professional. Sorry. Why he came back is because that would have been professional misconduct.
If he had left.
Yeah, he left. The judge said, I did not permit you.
But that's not your question. Let him respond to that.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know the reason why he left. Then he also came back. Of course, I cannot really say much on that.
The judge told him the day before that what you are
hold on.
no, you say what you know now.
But the point I'm making is that looking at the scenario, the picture that that court presents to us and to Nigerians, to those who are watching, is that there is a predetermined goal to send Olisamaturu to the gulag. There's a predetermined goal, there's vindictiveness, and what they are doing to him is persecution. Because I still repeat it, that if there is overwhelming evidence that this man actually has that medical condition, and the judge granted it for somebody else who is facing,
it's not the same condition,
who is facing a 27 billion naira trial, a former governor of the state. Now this one is just Olisamaturu, who was not a governor. He did not hold any public office under government. He was just a publicity secretary of a political party. And of course, some people will say that his only sin is that maybe he was one of those that continue to harp on the certificatelessness of Muhammadu Buhari.
And of course,
because if you look at it,
you said a while ago that yes, he and Okoa Bank, that they almost shared the same.
Of course, he made that point as well. And you know that even on appeal, who was there? There were no press there. I was in your class.
We are talking of 1987.
No, I was in your class. But that is what he said. And the front over was there. We are the massive head against him.
We are looking at issues that surround.
When your public secretary
it was in his court.
Yeah, but so how can we ensure that we have a speedy a speedy case situation?
Yeah, as he said in his opening statement, which I agree with him 100%, that the prosecution should, as much as possible, carry the defense team along.
Okay.
They should not see prosecution as persecution to reach a determined goal of just sending the defendant to the gulag, but they should see it from the point of view of respect for the rule of law. So that, I mean, whatever evidence you have, you share. In fact, the prosecution owes a duty to the court to even share evidence that will be against the state with the court and with the defense.
Well, in 30 seconds, I want to say that there's a new administration of criminal justice law in Edo State, which was signed into law by His Excellency the Governor in March this year. Everyone who is involved in administration of justice should try and get a copy, because this is now the new law which is existing. So it's a law. It's not a rule. Thank you very much.